Excuse me. Hello. Hi, Rhonda. Thanks for joining. Welcome to 3 on Thursday. So it is July 25th. It's Christmas in July. I didn't even think about that. None of my cards actually are going to be that. But it is the 25th. It is July. Anyway, so welcome. If you are new here, I do this class every week, and we do at least 3 cards, and I give you the sizes and all of the items, the information for all of the items so that you can recreate the cards as shown. Of course, you're always welcome to use what you have on hand. You don't have to use what I have, but that's just the whole point of the class. So this is going to be our first card tonight. It might be a little bit harder to see. You know, black card on a black desk doesn't make it stand out very well, does it? So, my name is Michelle. This is Crafters Northwest. I do use Stampin' Up! Supplies for my cards, generally speaking. If it is otherwise, I will let you know. And I love to share tips and tricks and things on how to make it more fun or easier or whatever. So, let's go ahead and get started. Today's classes, we have 2 focuses. Today's cards, rather. We have 2 focuses. So we are working with the Lily Pond Lane 6x6 papers. So these are super cute. And so one side of the paper is a scene, and the other side is a not scene. Not all of them are plaid, but just quick look at some of these papers. You do get 4 of each design. There's a little frog at the bottom of that one, but just so you can kind of get an idea. And then on the other side, you can see that there's some different things. So some of it is just plain, like this one is kind of a cement type look, and then others like this is lily pads. So it really kind of depends. Okay, so that's focus number 1. And then focus number 2 are these dies. They are the Everyday Details dies. There's a couple rectangles that we're going to use on a different card, so they're in with that card. But we are going to use these on all 3 of today's cards. So with this paper packet and these dies. So there's going to be some additional things to go along with it, of course, but those are going to be 2 of the things that are going to be a given on all of the cards. So I do think it's kind of neat and fun that you can have the same supplies and have completely different looking results. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So this is our first card, and we are using a black card base. The ink that we'll be using is Memento. And then our pieces are a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 that is white. We have one of these is basic gray and one is gray granite. I believe this is basic and this is gray granite. I'm still learning. Alright, so our smaller of the 2, they are just ever so slightly smaller. So you could reverse these, it doesn't matter. So one is 4 1/4 by 3, and the other is 4 3/8 by 3 1/8. That gives us just that tiny little border. So if you wanted to have a slightly larger border, you could do 4 1/2 by 3 1/4. Up to you. All right. Then we have two of these in case I stamp terribly. So this is this oh goodness. I'm just not going to be able to pick up anything today. So this round circle is the inside. So when you cut this, it leaves the circles along the outside. Here is the rectangle version of what I'm saying. So it's this, but round. Okay, so you have your negative space has the holes around it, and then you have this as well. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I did not explain that very well. All right, so that's what we're using for this card. And then we have a black circle that uses these guys, and I forget the name of them. Spotlight on Nature. So there's a whole bunch of different circles, and we've used them on various cards in the past. And so we're going to use this middle circle that is the lines. So so you have a largest, I guess there are 4. So the second largest that has the lines. Okay. And then we have a few scraps that I have just stamped the 2 larger flowers on. An extra in case I need it to stamp again, which I already said. And then we have a piece that's 1.5 by, I think it cut it a little bit big, but by 4, no, 3 1/8, right? Because it's going to go like this. So I do believe I cut it a little bit big, so I might have to trim it. That's okay. And this is 1/2 inch by 6. We don't need it to be that long. We're just going to use a small bit of it. It's easier to cut it off after you glue it on. All right. So that being said, let's do our stamping first. Oh, which stamp sets are we using? That is a great question. We are going to use Spotlight on Nature for our flower, and then we're going to use Saying Hey for our sentiment, I miss your face. All right, so we are going to use our Stampin' Pierce mat. All right, this is our scratch paper, our circle, and our stamp. So we're going to do our flower first. And we definitely don't need to stamp or ink up the whole thing. And I'm stamping it just low enough that both of these flowers come off the edge. Hopefully I did not move that when it lifted up. Of course I did, because why wouldn't I have? That's what I get for trying to point when I'm supposed to be holding things down. Let's try this again. All right. So this petal and this petal over here are just slightly hanging off the edge of our circle. Okay. And then our sentiment. Now, of course, if you don't have the other 2 pieces stamped yet, you'll need to stamp those on scrap. And then just kind of whichever direction you want your flowers to be. So if you want them to be like this, or like this, right? It really just kind of depends, but make your decision and then stamp your sentiment so that it is straight in the way that you want it to be. Okay. We are also going to use the light Flirty Flamingo, and we're gonna let this dry for a moment. And I'm just going to take the brush end, and we are just going to super quick, and you don't even actually have to stay in the lines because we are going to be cutting this out. Right, so you can be super messy if you want. Oops. Now, if you have seen my videos in the past, you will know that I always, even with having a color swatch, I always swatch my colors that I'm going to use just so that I can match them up. And just so you can see, so this is the light Flirty Flamingo and the dark. And you can see that while this pink is technically pretty in pink, this Flirty Flamingo matches really well. So that's why we went with this color. I know, pretty self-explanatory. So, good news for you guys. I have already cut these out, so you don't have to watch me do that. You're welcome. All right, where is my glue? Okay. That is Stampin' Seal Plus. There it is. All right, we don't need plus. All of our stuff is going to stick just fine, so we don't need any extra super sticky stuff. All right, so let's do some gluing. So we're going to set that off to the side for a moment. Now, if you want or feel like you need some wiggle room, because this is such a small mat, you are more than welcome to use a liquid adhesive, and that way you have a little bit of time to, oh goodness gracious, that was interesting. All right, make sure you push down when you think you do. So what happened there, I don't know if you can tell. There, you can see that goes all the way across, right? From right here to right here. I didn't mean for it to. I meant to do, so I did this one, and then I meant to do another one, and then I meant to do a third. But I did not actually fully touch down where I thought I did. And so it just kept going. All right, this piece is extra, so we will keep it for another time, of course. All right, So what I did right there, I know I don't explain it often, is the card bases come from two pieces of, here, does that help? No, that makes it worse, sorry. Are we focused? Maybe. Gosh, it just doesn't want to play nice today, does it? I'm gonna adjust my lights real quick. Maybe that'll be better. Okay. So these two pieces, let's not glue that to something we don't want it to, right? Make a full 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. So I score it and then cut it, and if you've watched previous videos, you have seen me do that. When you do that, sometimes no matter how hard you try, and there's probably no way that this is going to show up, but almost always one side is a smidge longer than the other side. And so what I try to do, although I'm not always successful, is I try to make the long side be the front of the card. That way, there isn't by chance anything that shows through, right? Like if I had this come all the way to the edge, not that I would, right? But you can see there's a little bit, you can see that gray, right? You can see that? Versus if I flip it over, right? Still make sure it's lined up, no gray. Okay, so that is why I do that. All right. So now we are putting our plaid on here. Now where you put it is really kind of up to you. Where did I get it lined up? That's a really difficult number. Okay, so if we go with that number, that is about 1 7/8 ish. I did not measure. I do not recommend measuring for this. I recommend eyeballing it, which I do a lot. So basically what you want it to do, so this is half, right? I know I don't want half. I want 1/3. So if this is half, this is 1/3, right? Because then I could get another one here, right? So we're gonna go with that. And remember, I did say I cut it a little bit long. And so we're just gonna trim that off. Okay. So we are just going to center this on the front of the card. And it literally is just going to be center, left, right, top, bottom. Hopefully straight. All right, let's go ahead and glue this piece on. I know we don't have it colored yet. That's okay. We can color it on here. I personally love how well these two fit together. It's so wonderful. It's not too big, it's not too small, gives some extra detail. It's great. All right, I am just going to carefully add a little bit of color to this smallest bud. All right. I am going to use liquid glue for these flowers. of course, it was working just fine right before the video. Literally right before. There we go. So I am going to use my tweezers just because my fingers tend to get in the way. I used a little bit too much glue. So these I did cut right on the stamped image line. Because I just wanted to have them kind of appearance pop. Like I didn't lift them, obviously. I didn't put any dimension on them. I just wanted them to be a focus on top of the cutout dots. Hopefully that makes sense. Alright, so another thing, if you are new, oh, it came off there. I'm like, why is that sticky? Is I do tend to use more dimensionals than most people do. Or at least most videos I've seen. We'll phrase it that way. Oops, gotta make my sentiment straight. And there we go. So we are using the 2426 in color resin dots. We used these, gosh, I guess we used them just last week. And I'm just going to put these in a triangle shape. And voila, just like that, card number 1 is done. What do you think? Do you like it? This would be so fun because you could use scraps of any paper that is a pop of color. So you can make the base of the card kind of a monochromatic color, and then you can use something that pops, either an opposing color or I mean, you could even still do it all the same color. You could do monochromatic and use a ribbon instead of a paper and have that be your pop of color, and then just put your flowers and your dots to match whatever that pop of color is. So that is card number 1. Okay, card number 2 is going to be the hardest of all of our cards tonight, but it's still easy. It looks harder than it is, okay? Which is great because it's a great kind of wow factor. So this card is inspired by Barb Pfeffer, I think is how you pronounce her last name. I'm not sure. She is on the artisan team. Goodness. And so I kind of took this idea and ran with it. So I put my own little spin on it. I used all different products. I think the only thing that might possibly be the same is the thick white cardstock. Maybe? So, alright, so this is what it does. So it opens this way first. Yep, I did say first. How fun is that? See, these are those ducks on that paper that I pulled out and showed you guys. Okay, so normally I would have added another white piece like I did on the first card in here, but because it's already 2 layers thick right here, I did not do that. I did add in the piece that I normally do. I just did not add another layer in here. So I think this is super fun. It really is easy to do, and I'm going to walk you through it. Okay? It's just more steps. So let me move some things out of the way. And let me show you what we're going to be using. So we are going to use the Sentimental Park for our sentiment. Dear friend, you are amazing. Now, if you wanted to, you could do Dear friend on the outside, and you could do You are amazing on the inside. Or you could even do another little label here on this piece, right? Line it up so this one covers and then this one is in that same spot. It says You are amazing, and then you could even do Thank you on the inside if you wanted to. So just putting some ideas out there. All right, so Sentimental Park for our sentiment. And then we are using the Exposed Brick 3D embossing folder for our embossing on the inside. And you really could do anything in there for that. I just wanted to use something different that I hadn't yet used recently. These fabulous dots. Look at these dots. These are so fun. Okay, they are called Glossy Dots Assortment. And they're kind of holographic-ish. Okay. And the other thing, I did not check and see if this is still available. I do apologize for that. This is a Paper Pumpkin add-on that you can purchase. The Love of Spring dies. And so we're going to use, this is the label that we're using. And then you have a daffodil and a leaf and the word love. And like I said before, we are using these dies. Now, this is how I put them together so that I could make a frame piece, because we do have a frame piece here. Do you have to do that? Absolutely not. Could you do it in a different color? Most definitely. Actually, this would look really great in Pretty Peacock. Right, that's the color that I have here for the stamping, and that's that dark blue color on the ducks, Mama Duck's wings, and that would make it pop even more, I think. So that's how I did this, right? So this, remember I showed you the this piece, right? That's what this original frame is from, but I cut it crooked, and so if I put this here, right, this was just like this. So then we have a frame, right? And then there are the inside pieces, which we're not actually using today, right? So it would look like this. This is obviously the back side, right? So we're not going to use this one today, but we're keeping it because, I mean, that's a good piece. We are using this frame today, right? And then you would have the negative space that you could use on something if you don't do it crooked like I did. Well, I mean, you could still use it if it's crooked, but I did not. All right, so I'm going to take this apart because we are going to use this. We do need this piece for what we are doing. Right, because I didn't do everything because I needed to show you guys how to do it, right? Okay. So I have some extra labels for stamping just in case I stamp terribly. Okay. So we have 2 card bases. We have one top fold and one side fold. Okay. And then on the side fold, you can hopefully see I trimmed off 1/8 of an inch. That's it, just 1/8 from this edge here. Okay. And we did that so that it will fold and not be inhibited while it's folding. Okay. And then we have 2 pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4. So one is white, which I have already embossed with that exposed brick. And then the other is, look at how fun that is. The other is from that Lily Pond paper. Okay. So I do have Mama Duck out here with the babies because we can do her again, or we could do, there's that fun frog I told you about before. We could do the frog, or these koi fish would be super fun, I think. Right? So we can do any of those. So let me know which one you think we should do for today's card. And then we're going to go ahead and start doing all the other things, right? So let's go ahead and do our stamping so that can dry while we're doing the rest of it. Does it take that long to dry? Absolutely not. It does not take that long to dry. But why risk it, right? Why not just go ahead and stamp it and be done with it and then move on. All right. So, dear friend, hopefully that is straight. Yeah, pretty close. Close enough. All right, you are amazing. And I do tend to hold the stamp for just a few seconds just to let the ink transfer into the paper. I feel like it gives a little bit better image when I do that. Okay. So we are going to take our top folding card base. We're going to make sure that we have the front facing forward, and then we are going to attach. Let's see, wouldn't it be cute to do that one? That might be a bit busy for the inside. Even if you did, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. But it would be cute. It would be cute. All right, where's my glue? All right, gluing this on the front, centering it. Right, this does give us a nice white frame. Okay, and then we're going to take our frame and we're going to center this on here and hopefully get it straight. right? That's the goal. So we're going to open our card base. Very important. And then what we're going to do, actually, is when we put this on here, trying to have as much of this on screen as possible. Okay, we could do just like this, yes. It is hard on your machine and your plates to run a straight edge into the rollers. So when possible, you want to tilt it. Obviously, it won't go through the machine. Tilted like this, you'll ruin this end of your card. So you have a couple options. You can pull this out a little bit so it doesn't I forgot how I was going to phrase that. So you can pull it back so that you can run it through the machine to this point and then back again. Or you can do only ever so slightly at a tilt, and you can do it that way. If you do it that way, you will also have to think about the crease that you're going to have on your cardstock, which you can kind of see here if it'll focus, which it may not. So if it will focus, or even if it doesn't focus, you can kind of see a shadow line right here. So that is where the plate was at. And what I didn't take into consideration when I was doing it, not only was it not, the die was not straight on there, but I was lining up the fold with this part of my plate, which is all great and dandy if your plate does not have a bevel on it, which these do. So then you have to line it up with the thickest part of the bevel, where that bevel starts. Okay, so you have to take that into consideration. So we're going to tilt it like this, and then we're going to run it to this point and then run it back through. So a forward and back motion. And yes, your die will warp a little bit, and that's okay. That's okay. It happens. All right, so make sure all the little dots are off of there because we need to use that again here momentarily. I'm going to take this off. And we're going to be careful with this because we are using this piece on our next card. Okay. So let's go ahead real quick, since we got to do it anyway. We'll go ahead and pop all these little dots out. Now, if my die had been clean, as in all the little dots already popped out from the previous running, then most of these would have just fallen right out. Okay. Good news is they don't take too long to get popped out. of course, this one didn't want to be cooperative. Alright, so we have all those popped out. We're going to set that aside for our other card. And then we're going to pop out all of these guys as well. So, clean out your die so that you don't have to do as much of this as we're doing. Alright, almost done. This is going to be the longest part of this card, I promise. Okay. All of the dots are gone. I'm going to bring this guy back because we need to... Nope, not this guy. Nope, not that guy. We need this guy. So let's pop out these dots. So I said that we were all done. I fibbed. We're just going to do the inner row because the outer one won't affect our card. So if you had the die brush attachment for this, this would be so much faster. I do not have that yet. So poke, poke, poke is what we do. Okay. Now, let's do the froggy because he's adorable and that way we have a little bit of variety. Alright, so we know that this is going to come kind of like this, so we want to have our guy not too low. All right. One of those dots went rogue. Okay, so you see all of the dots popped out. Super easy. All right, next we are going to add this frame on. Now, like I said, you don't have to have that frame on there. That is kind of a personal preference. So you can use the fine line glue. Oops. I'm just going to be apparently spitting glue out everywhere. Hold on. I gotta clean this up so that it does not get everywhere. So my goal is to use a super light amount. Now I could use the fine line. And have a much more precision tip on there. So I'm just going to, because it's liquid, I have a few moments that I can adjust to make sure those holes are lined up. So our little guy's lined up and ready to go. All right, all the complicated stuff is done. It's all done. So we are going to attach our embossed piece. On our side fold piece. Okay. Okay, super simple. We're going to attach this piece inside. Now this piece is a little bit wider than I would normally do, but I didn't feel like cutting it down. Like, this is the piece as it came off of the 6x6. Okay. Now we're going to glue this inside of this. So before I do glue that, this did not line up super well when it was being folded and creased. So I am going to trim the overhang just real quick. I know you guys will have a hard time seeing it because I'm having a hard time seeing it. Okay. Now we are just going to line this up at the very bottom. Oops, and burnish. Okay, we're almost done. it's time to add Mr. Frog here. Before I do that, I do have some glue that has seeped just a little bit. So I'm just going to take my white eraser and just erase away the glue. Now if you have a glue eraser, it will do the same thing. If you have any glue that came out the sides, you'll want to take care of that as well, because you don't want to make it hard for the recipient to open your card. A little bit of liquid glue as well, just to be safe. And then I'm going to close it. I'm actually going to use my bone folder to help keep that top flat, and then just place this inside. Super cute, right? Okay, so we need our sentiment, and it looks, you know what? It's not straight. It's crooked. That's okay. It is what it is, right? Dear friend, you are amazing. And then our embellishments. And that is card number 2. Right? Super, super fun, adorable. Works well with any kind of scene paper. And it would be beautiful with like a flower paper, like that lavender paper would be beautiful. All right. Now, our third card. Okay, so our stamps for this one, Comforting Thoughts. We are using, what are we using? We are using Hope This Is a Feeling Better Kind of Day. And then Country Flowers. We are going to use our leaf and the table. And then we're also going to use this bucket die. So we are hand cutting both of these for this card. You don't have to. I was going for a specific look. So you do what makes you happy. We are going to use these embellishments, and this is the 2325 in color opaque sparkle dots. So there's a bit of a gold sparkle in there. And also some of this frayed grosgrain ribbon, which you've seen me use in the past. Okay. So here is our card. Fun, right? I love that on camera. This looks like it has a whole bunch of dimension. So what do we need here? So we have a crumb cake base. We have our piece that we cut out from our last card. We have two pieces that are 4 by 5 1/4. So we have one white for the inside, and we have this one pebbled path. It's little arrows. We have Shy Shamrock and more crumb cake. This is that same size pieces before. It's what's left over when you cut the 4 by 5 1/4 piece. We have 2 white circles. Hopefully only need one, but you know. And then our little bucket that I've cut out of black cardstock. So let's go ahead and do our stamping. Okay, so these are extra from the last card. So we are going to use Memento ink again. Oh, and we are going to use some pens. I'll go over those here in just a second. Hope this is a feeling better kind of day. Beautiful. Alright, we have our table. And then our leaves, our leafy plant. So these are just scraps that are big enough to stamp these on. So thankfully we don't need that piece. All right, we're gonna let these dry and we're gonna do some assembly. We can't do all of it yet because some of it we need to wait on, obviously. Okay, so we're gonna glue our strip. Just make sure that you get your strip going the same direction as the front of your card. Right, you don't want your arrows going one way on the outside of your card and a different way on the inside of your card. Alright. So I'm just going to make sure that this is kind of folding correctly. It feels like it's trying to fold the wrong way. So I'm trying to avoid that. Just center this. Next up, we're going to put a little bit of, wait, make sure we're going the right way. Which way do we have? All right. All right. Then our ribbon, just a little bit. And our ribbon is going to be about, I probably did it a little bit low. Let's see. So this is probably 1.5 inches up. Or so. Try to make it straight. And you're going to want to run your tape over top of your ribbon again so that you can make sure that you have enough stick power so that it doesn't pop up at that point. Okay, so we're just going to center this piece. Now this piece is kind of coming up a little bit, so I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue in here. Now I could just take the whole thing off, but I like the stability that having that extra layer gives. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. Alright, and then this will just go just centered like that. Right? Easy peasy so far. Right? Hopefully you agree. Okay. Now we are going to bring these back in. Set this aside. And we're going to use some pens. And maybe not the pens you expect. So we are going to use, what is this? Gray granite, both light and dark. And then we're also going to use these 4 pens. So we have Pool Party, light and dark. And then we have Shaded Spruce, light and dark. Okay, so let's go ahead. And I know you're probably thinking, can you even see these on our paper? And you can, and I will show you. So that is light and dark. And light and dark. Right, so let's shake that like a Polaroid picture. Right, because the alcohol needs to evaporate off, so we're going to let that evaporate a little bit more. While that's doing that, we're going to use these guys, and we're going to do a little bit of shading. Okay, so as you can probably see, I didn't do a ton of shading, just a little bit, and it just gives it a little bit of dimension. So we're going to take the dark, and we're going to use the bullet tip end, and we're going to do just a short little bit on the front legs and a larger bit on the back legs. And we're just going to kind of flick, right? We're gonna do about that much on the front legs, and we're gonna do probably about double that on the back legs. Okay, right, easy peasy. And then we're gonna take the light and we're just going to pull that down, and we're gonna essentially double the length that we have there. Okay, and that'll dry pretty quickly. Okay, then we're going to take the brush end, and we're gonna do, if you've seen videos in the past for my coffee cups, we're gonna do kind of that same idea. We're going to come in from the outside edges, and we're using light, right? And we're gonna do that, okay? And then we're gonna do some weird coloring right here like this, okay? Just like that. If you wanted to, you could do the tabletop with a little bit of the dark as well, right? Because we're putting the pot on here, and look, I didn't even make that wide enough. So let's make that wider. Right, because we're putting our pot on there, and then our plant is going to be in there as well. So it's going to cause shadows coming down onto our table. Okay, so that's all we're doing with the gray. Okay, so we're going to come back over here for our green. So we are going to fill in our entire leaf with the dark. Okay, now if I bring this here, maybe you can see, maybe not. So right here, there we go. So right here is the only original green of the paper. Everything else has been colored to some degree. So it is a little bit lighter there. The other thing that you could do is you could use a white gel pen. And color that space in. Right, you're gonna need to do probably 2 layers of color, right? You're gonna have to let it dry and then do another layer. I actually really like that, so I'm gonna do that again. All right, so you don't have to do the first layer. I did, and I'm going to for the video again, so I can show you just how much dimension it gives. So you can see light, dark of the pool party, light and dark of the shaded spruce. So you almost can't see the light when it's dried. You actually may not be able to on camera. So the dark, it's just giving a base color for the rest of our inks to be able to move with. And yes, I do color each leaf individually. I'm not worried about the middle stems just yet, because we are going to use the dark shaded spruce on those stems. Nothing else, just that. Okay, that is step one. Okay, next we are going to go in with our dark shaded spruce. No, we're not. We're gonna go in with our light shaded spruce. I'm sorry. And we're just gonna go where there's gonna be shadows, right? So we know that there's going to be shadows on the bottom leaf, right? And just on the vein of that one, there's a shadow here where this is come over, and also here. The same there and there. I know if you are just listening and not watching, this is not going to be the easiest to follow, and I do apologize for that. Okay, now we're going to come in with our light pool party, and we're just going to go over all of that again. And that kind of lessens the harsh lines of those shadow bits. And because we are going to be cutting this out, you don't have to be super like in the lines on the outside, right? You want to pay attention to your shadows and stuff still. All right, so dark shaded spruce bullet end, and we're just going to come in for those stems. All right, so I did use a 5 originally on this one. I wonder if an 8 would be a little bit better. I always want to start off project to get the ball rolling. Har har har. Pun intended. I love how much that just makes the whole rest of it pop just instantly. Okay, love that. So we're gonna do that here. And again, you're going to do a layer, let it dry, and then come back with another layer. If you feel like you need it, you can come back and do a 3rd layer of white gel pen. Okay, so good news, I have these cut out. You don't have to watch me cut them out. But this one is still drying. There's a lot of ink here, and you can see on the back side that the ink has seeped through the paper. Okay. In this one, the top looks weird. I know it does. But see, when we add this guy to it, it's not so bad. And then when we add this to it, again, not so bad. Although I did add too many. foam pieces. There we go. Right? Not terrible. I do need to add white on that one, and that'll happen. It will happen. Okay. Let's finish putting this together, shall we? So, we have these guys all cut out. This guy, you're not going to be able to really see those shadows. So let me, you know what, let me glue it down and then I'll add it so it doesn't move on me and I don't get it where I don't want it. Right? Using your Take Your Pick tool to get the backings off dimensionals, fabulous. Fabulous tool. Alright, I think I'm going to come up just a smidge higher than before. Let's attempt to actually center this. We'll call that good. Alright, now we can bring in some shadows, some more shadows. And again, like before, that will lighten as the alcohol evaporates. So I am only going to use 2 dimensionals on our pot because the bottom of our pot, or our planter, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be sitting on top of our table. Okay, so now you can see our shadow. There we go, around our pot. Right, so by itself, even this right here doesn't look bad. It will look better when we get our plant on top. Originally, I did just 1 layer of dimensionals, and I decided I wanted it to pop a little bit more than that. So then I went with another layer. Again, using my tweezers because my fingers get in the way. So now here's a little trick for you. My dimensionals, my tweezers, although you can use something else. So we're gonna put our sentiment right where we want it. Right, we're going to make sure it's straight. And then we're going to stick them underneath. Right, just like that. Then they're right where you know they need to be. And there's no flipping back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, trying to figure out where they're supposed to be. Voila. So if you want, you can use a little bit of liquid glue underneath, like up here in the corner, but you don't, it doesn't need it. I know, says the person who uses too many dimensionals. I know, that's okay. All right, So then let's grab some. Ooh. Some dots. Just kind of place them where it feels good. Like that. And that, my friends, is card number 3. So you'll have to tell me which of these cards you liked best. Here, I'm going to put this one on top because it has the white, which I am going to do to the other one. Oh, actually, let's do that right now. 10, 5, 8. Honestly, I think this white just makes the whole thing pop so much. Like, I did not think a tiny little detail like that could change the look of something. Oops. The look of something so much. But I think it really does. Alright, so we have card number 3. Card number 2. And card number 1. So, which one is your favorite? And tell me why. Is it because of the color combo? Is it because I chose the frog instead of the duck? Is it the white that makes the leaves pop? Is it the coloring on the leaves? Like, tell me what you like best about which card you like best. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to visit with me and watch my videos. I hope they inspire you to make cards of your own, and I really would love to see them. You can comment on the Facebook page. You can send me a message. I would love to hear from you guys, and I would love to see what you guys make with the classes that I'm sharing with you. So, on that note, thank you so much. Happy Christmas in July, and I will see you guys next week. It'll be August next week for our class. It'll be the first class of August. That's crazy. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.